I caught my fiancé in bed with my cousin, and in that moment, everything died. 3 years of love, gone just like that, so I didn't cry. I made a deal marriage, 1 year, with the most dangerous CEO in the city. No love. Just revenge, at least. That's what I thought, 3 years. That's how long I gave to Marcus DeLuca. 3 years of believing he was the one. 3 years of ignoring the little signs, the late nights, the secret phone calls, the way his eyes wandered when we were out together. Man, I thought I was being paranoid. My friends told me I was lucky. You, Marcus, is a catch, they said. You handsome, successful, devoted. They didn't know what I knew. They didn't feel what I felt. Then came my cousin Sophia's engagement party. Sophia, who'd been like a sister to me since we were kids. Sophia, who called me crying after every breakup, who borrowed my clothes and never returned them, who smiled at Marcus a little too long at family gatherings. I should have known, I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. I arrived early to help set up Sophia's apartment, keys she'd given me years ago. I let myself in, arms full of decorations, ready to pretend I was happy for her. The living room was empty, but I heard sounds from the bedroom, sounds I recognized. I walked toward that door like a ghost. Like I was watching myself from outside my body. The door was slightly open, I pushed it, and there they were. Marcus, my fiancé, the man I'd planned to marry next spring, with Sophia, my cousin, in her bed. On the day of her engagement party, I stood there for what felt like hours. They didn't notice me at first. Lost in each other, in their lies, in their betrayal. Then Sophia's eyes met mine over Marcus's shoulder. She screamed. Marcus spun around, his face going pale, then red, then pale again. Elena, he stammered. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was so absurd, so pathetic, so perfectly cliché. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. And you know what? I hope you're happy. Because you just lost the only person who ever really loved you. I dropped the decorations. Turned around. Walked out. I made it to my car before the tears came. And then I sat there in the parking lot and cried until I had nothing left. The next 2 weeks were a blur. I quit my job. I couldn't face the office, the people, the pitying looks. I stopped answering calls from friends. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I just existed, floating through days that all looked the same. Marcus called hundreds of times, left messages, begged, pleaded, apologized, explained, made excuses, blamed stress, alcohol, my cousin's manipulation. I deleted everyone without listening. Sophia sent a letter, handwritten, full of tears and apologies. And I never meant to hurt you. I burned it without reading past the first line. Lend, the wedding was canceled. The invitations, the dress, the venue, all gone, my mother cried. My father offered to have a word with Marcus. I told them both to let it go. Banned, but I couldn't let it go. The anger was still there, burning, growing, consuming. I started researching Marcus's business. He was a real estate developer, moderately successful, always chasing the next big deal. And he was in trouble. Big trouble. A project had gone over budget. Investors were pulling out. He needed money. Fast. That's when I heard about Alexander Blackwood. Alexander Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries, billionaire, recluse, cold as ice. They said he'd never married, never been seen with anyone, never showed emotion of any kind. They said he was a machine disguised as a man, and they said he needed a wife. Man, something about a business deal, a partnership with an old-world family that required a proper married man at the helm. Some archaic clause in a contract his father had signed decades ago. If Alexander didn't marry within the year, he'd lose everything. I saw my opportunity, and I took it. Getting a meeting with Alexander Blackwood was nearly impossible, but I was desperate, and desperate people find ways. I showed up at his office every day for a week, left messages, sent letters, camped out in the lobby until security threatened to call the police. Finally, on the 7th day, his assistant appeared. "Yep, mister, Blackwood will see you now." 5 minutes dawned. I walked into that corner office and felt the temperature drop. Alexander sat behind an enormous desk, not looking up from his computer. He was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair, sharp features, and eyes that seemed to see right through you. "Sit," he said. Still not looking up, I sat. "You've wasted 6 days of my staff's time." You have 3 minutes. Talk. Dad, I took a deep breath, laid it all out. Marcus, Sophia, the betrayal, the need for revenge. And my proposal, I need your money and your power, I said. You need a wife. I'm offering a deal, 1 year of marriage. I'll say the part, events, photos, whatever your business requires. In exchange, you help me destroy Marcus DeLuca's company, make him lose everything, the way I lost everything. Quaddle, he finally looked up. Those dark eyes studied me for a long, uncomfortable moment. You want revenge, he said. Not a question. I want justice. He almost smiled. Almost. There's no such thing. Only revenge. He leaned back in his chair. Let me tell you what I see. A woman who's been hurt, who's angry, who thinks destroying someone else will make her feel better. It won't, but that's not my concern. My concern is business. Dodd. He pulled out a document from his drawer. This is a prenuptial agreement. You sign this, you get nothing if the marriage ends. No money, no property, no claims. In exchange, I'll give you access to my resources, legal, financial, whatever you need. You have 1 year. At the end of that year, we go our separate ways. No questions, no feelings, clean. Dawdled, he slid the document across the desk. Read it, think about it. Come back tomorrow if you're still interested. I didn't read it, I didn't think about it. I picked up the pen and signed. I'm ready now, I said. Bond, for the first time, something flickered in his eyes, surprise. And maybe respect. But you can't. You're either very brave or very foolish, he said. Maybe both? Does it matter? He stood, extended his hand. And welcome to Blackwood Industries, Mrs. Blackwood. We have a lot of work to do. The wedding was small. Private. Just a judge, 2 witnesses, and a contract that felt more real than any vow. Alexander wore black. I wore white. Neither of us smiled. I moved into his penthouse that night. A separate bedroom, separate bathroom, separate life. We were roommates with rings. The first weeks were strange. We barely spoke. He left before I woke up, came home after I slept. We communicated through notes on the kitchen counter. You gone to meeting dinner in fridge. You need car. Tomorrow. Keys on hook. Davend. I started learning about him through his things. The books on his shelves. Philosophy, history, nothing sentimental. The photos on his desk. None. The music he played softly through his headphones when he thought I couldn't hear. Classical. Sad. Lonely. Dumble. One night, I woke up to find him sitting in the dark living room, staring at the city lights. Yen, can't sleep? I asked. He didn't turn around. You never can. I sat on the couch across from him. In the darkness, he looked different, softer. More human. What do you think about? I asked. He was quiet for a long time. Then, her name was Claire. We were engaged 10 years ago. She died in a car accident. Drunk driver. I was driving. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, in the dark, with this stranger who was suddenly not a stranger at all. I'm sorry, I whispered. Again, it was a long time ago. He stood up. Good night, Elena. He walked away. Left me there with more questions than answers. After that night, things changed. Small things. He started leaving me notes with jokes instead of instructions. He asked about my day and actually listened. One evening, he came home with takeout from my favorite restaurant. Your assistant mentioned you like this place, he said, not meeting my eyes. I started looking forward to seeing him. Started dressing a little nicer, staying up a little later. Started noticing the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed, rare, but beautiful. Started wondering what it would feel like to touch his face. This wasn't part of the contract. This wasn't supposed to happen, but it was happening, and I didn't know how to stop it. While my heart was complicating things, Alexander kept his promise. The revenge plan was methodical, brilliant, and brutal. He introduced me to lawyers who found every legal vulnerability in Marcus's business, accountants who traced every shady transaction, investigators who uncovered debts Marcus had hidden from his investors. We went to his biggest backers, the ones he'd lied to about his finances, and gave them the truth. They pulled their funding within days. We bought his debt from the banks, pennies on the dollar, and called it in immediately. He couldn't pay. His company was drowning, and then we waited. Marcus came to us eventually. Showed up at Alexander's office, desperate, pleading. He didn't know I was there. Didn't know I was watching through the one-way glass. Please, Marcus begged. I'll do anything. Just give me time to recover. Alexander sat behind his desk, cold and calm. You're not asking me. You're asking her. He pressed a button. The glass became transparent. Marcus saw me. His face crumbled. Alina, please. I know I hurt you, but this is destroying me. My company, my life, everything I built. You built? I stood up, walked into the office. You built nothing. You lied. You cheated. You stole from people who trusted you. Just like you stole from me. Prenstel, Elena, I loved you. You loved my cousin. In my cousin's bed. On the day of her engagement party. I laughed bitterly. You don't talk to me about love. He started crying, real tears, or maybe just performance. I didn't care anymore. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to declare bankruptcy. You're going to sell everything. You're going to walk away from this city and never come back. And if I ever hear of you starting another business, hurting another person, I'll release everything. The photos, the recordings, the documents, everything. You can't do this. This isn't justice. This is exactly what you deserve. Dindal, I turned to Alexander. Nodded. Security arrived. Marcus was escorted out, screaming, crying, begging. The door closed behind him. I stood there, in that office, waiting to feel something. Satisfaction, relief, closure. I felt nothing. Blown, Alexander came to stand beside me. It's done, he said quietly. You got what you wanted. I looked up at him. At this man who'd given me everything I asked for, who'd kept every promise, who'd never once asked for anything in return. Did I whispered. Something passed between us. A moment. A question. Done. Then his phone rang. Business. Always business. He stepped away to answer it. The moment was gone, but I didn't forget it, and neither, I think, did he. After Marcus was destroyed, I should have felt free. Instead, I felt lost. My purpose was gone. My revenge was complete. And I was still married to a man I barely knew, but couldn't stop thinking about. Alexander and I fell into a strange rhythm. We had dinner together most nights. Talked about everything and nothing. He told me about Claire, the good memories, the painful ones. I told him about my childhood, my dreams, my fears. One night, after too much wine, he looked at me and said, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect what? You, us. This. He gestured vaguely at the space between us. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. My heart stopped. You're like, what? He didn't answer. Just looked at me with those dark eyes, full of something I was afraid to name. Yo, Alina, the contract? I know what the contract says. The year is almost up. I know Dinda. He reached out. Touched my face. Just barely. Just for a second. What do you want? He asked. I wanted to say it. I wanted to tell him that I'd fallen for him. That he'd become more important than revenge. That the thought of leaving made me physically ill. But fear is powerful. Stronger than love sometimes. Yen, I don't know, I lied. He nodded, pulled his hand away, stood up, and when you figure it out, let me know. Donned, he walked away, left me alone with my fear and my regret. That night, I lay awake and thought about everything. About Marcus and Sophia, about revenge and justice, about contracts and feelings, about Alexander, and I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay. I wanted this marriage to be real. But was it too late? Had I ruined everything by being afraid? Begging the Alexander. I didn't have answers, only questions, only hope. Only fear. The next morning, Alexander was gone. His assistant said he'd left for a business trip, no return date, no messages, days passed. Then a week. Then two, I wandered through that penthouse like a ghost, surrounded by his things, his books, his memories. I missed him. Missed his voice, his rare laugh, his quiet presence. I called Marcus's ex-partners. They confirmed he'd left the city, disappeared, gone for good. My revenge was complete. But it felt hollow. Down I called Sophia. She answered, hesitant, Alina, is that you? Sir Sophia, I'm not calling to fight. I'm calling because I need to understand something. Then she was quiet. Then, what? Why? Why him? Why hurt me like that? Quonsdal. She started crying. I don't have an answer that makes it right. I was jealous of you. Of your life, your happiness, your love. I wanted something that was yours. Because I had nothing of my own. It was wrong. It was cruel. I'm sorry. Then I believed her. Not enough to forgive her, but enough to understand. Yeah, goodbye, Sophia dawned. I hung up, closed that door forever. The next day, Alexander's assistant called, Mr. Blackwood requests your presence at a charity gala tomorrow night. Formal attire. 7 o'clock. Is he back? Mezzadle. I'm just relaying the message, Miss S. Blackwood Dendel. I spent the next day preparing. Not just my dress, my hair, my makeup, my heart, my words, my courage. Damp it. The gala was at a grand hotel downtown. Hundreds of people. Cameras flashing. Champagne flowing. I walked in and looked for him. Found him across the room, talking to business associates, looking devastating in a black suit. He saw me, excused himself, walked toward me. Elena. We stood there, surrounded by people, completely alone. The year is almost up, he said. I know, Gender. I've been thinking about what you said. About not knowing what you want. Dinder, have you figured it out? He stepped closer. I figured out what I want. The question is whether you want the same thing. Dined. What do you want? He reached into his pocket, pulled out a document, the contract. I want to tear this up, he said. I want to start over. No contract. No rules. No expiration date. Just us. If you want that too. I stared at him. At the contract in his hands. At the hope in his eyes. Alexander, I know I'm cold. I know I'm difficult. I know I'm broken in ways that might never heal. But I also know that these past months have been the best of my life. Because of you. Because you walked into my office and offered me a deal I never expected to want. Deinda. He took my hand. Okay, I don't want a contract, wife Elena. I want you. Real you. Forever you. Didn't. Tears filled my eyes. Then tear it up. Hide? He smiled. Actually smiled. Ripped the contract in half. Then in half again. Let the pieces fall to the floor, I laughed, cried. Threw my arms around him. I love you, I whispered. I've loved you for months. I was just too scared to say it. I know. He held me tight. I've been waiting. We stood there, in the middle of that crowded room, and kissed, like we were the only two people in the world. Yeah. It's been 3 years now. 3 years since that night. 3 years since we tore up the contract and started something real. Alexander and I are still married. Still living in that penthouse. Still learning each other every day. He still can't sleep most nights. But now, when I wake up and find him staring at the city lights, I join him. I sit beside him, I hold his hand, and we watch the sunrise together. Marcus never came back. Heard he moved to another state, started over, maybe learned something from the wreckage. I don't care enough to find out. Sophia sent a wedding gift when we renewed our vows. A small, anonymous package. I threw it away, unopened. Some bridges don't need rebuilding. Bland, my friends asked me once how I ended up married to Alexander Blackwood, the coldest CEO in the city. The man who never smiled. I told them the truth. I walked into his office with a contract and a broken heart. I walked out with a husband and a second chance. They laughed. Didn't believe me. Doesn't matter. Bend. What matters is this. Love doesn't follow rules. It doesn't read contracts. It doesn't care about revenge or plans or expectations. It just shows up, quietly, unexpectedly, and changes everything. I married a cold CEO to destroy my cheating ex. I never expected to fall in love with my husband. But I did, and I'd do it all over again. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more tales of second chances, unexpected love, and the contracts our hearts refuse to sign. Click the bell for notifications. And remember, sometimes the best thing you can do is tear up the plan and follow your heart.